Yeah, and so I think, for those of you guys who have been really excited for Andor Season 2, and then maybe some people who are, just jumping in now that it is about to come out, this deep dive is all about Dedra Meero.
Yeah.
And we are not just going to, run down some plot points or whatever. Our mission here is actually to, look into her biography and what makes her tick as a character in the ISB. And to do that, we're going to be looking at the show Andor itself, so that is our ISB files. And then we're also going to be pulling in some stuff from behind the scenes, which I think is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So we really want to get to the bottom of who is Dedra Meero. She is a lieutenant and then supervisor in the ISB, right in the Galactic Empire. And she starts in enforcement, but moves over to investigations pretty quickly and ends up overseeing 2 sectors. And she's on the ISB board, reporting to Major Partagas.
Yeah, she is a mover and a shaker for sure.
Big time. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's look at some of those early conflicts.
Okay, so starting right at the beginning, 5 BBY, you've got that ISB meeting. And Meero is, reciting the mission statement, and Partagas just totally shuts her down. And, this is kind of an early clash that shows us not only Blevin's kind of territoriality, but also just how much the Empire kind of stifles innovative thinking for people who are lower down in the ranks. And I think Meero really embodies the opposite of that.
Yeah, she's constantly pushing against that throughout the entire show.
Right, totally. And then you've got the theft on Ferrix, the NS9 Starpath unit.
Right.
And this is a relatively, small incident, but it really sparks something in Meero.
It is so interesting how she spots that one loose thread in this massive tapestry.
Totally.
And the way that she immediately pushes for jurisdiction, right? This wasn't just about following procedure.
Yeah.
It was her seeing a connection, right? A pattern forming.
Totally.
That stolen tech originated in her sector,
Right.
Steergard Naval Yard.
Steergard Naval Yard.
And she sensed that there was something bigger there.
And this is where you really see that dynamic between the different people who are kind of in power in the ISB and Blevin's response to her.
Yeah.
It is so telling. I mean, that quote, "You've been here, just over a year.
Yeah.
You might want to steady the ladder before you start climbing."
Oh, so condescending.
So condescending. And it is not just him being dismissive of her idea, but it's a direct attempt to put her back in her place.
Totally.
To kind of reinforce that existing hierarchy.
And her response is perfect. I'm not looking for career advice.
Yeah.
She is so focused. It is not about climbing that ladder within the ISB.
Right.
It is about this bigger threat that she is starting to sense.
Yeah, she's got her eye on the prize.
Yeah. But Blevin is just completely entrenched, and he denies her request not once, but twice.
Right.
So she has to go directly to Partagas.
Right. Which leads to that super tense meeting where Blevin doubles down, accusing her of overreach. But Meero isn't just, shooting from the hip. She has actually done her research.
Yeah, she is prepared.
She is totally prepared.
Yeah.
She presents these multiple case files,
Right.
asserting this pattern of organized insurgency.
Yeah, right there on the table.
There are 3 instances.
So clear.
But then you've got Partagas, who is always very cautious. He's a bureaucrat at heart, and he wants that concrete proof,
Right.
which at this point she doesn't quite have.
Yeah, totally. And then Partagas does what he does. He kind of navigates this situation, right?
Yeah.
He confines them to their assigned sectors.
Right.
Which could be seen as a little bit of a slap on the wrist for Meero.
Yeah, a little bit.
But then he also acknowledges that Blevin has been submitting these consistent reports.
Right.
And he praises Meero's career as exceptionally promising.
Yeah.
It is he sees her potential, but he wants her to play by the rules.
Yeah, he wants her to stay in the box.
Yeah, at least for now. And he even references her success with detainees at Septalk.
Right.
That is the kind of result that he values.
Yeah, tangible result.
But you can really feel that she is frustrated.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that she also is okay, I got a little bit of validation there.
Yeah, I think she takes that as a win.
Yeah, for sure. And then despite that setback, right, her belief in this coordinated rebellion,
Yeah.
it doesn't waver.
She does not let it go.
No, she continues to see those connections where everyone else is seeing isolated incidents.
Totally. And that conversation that she has with Hart in the corridor, that is so important.
Yeah.
Because he lists all of those seemingly random events. Kessel Fondor, Jakku Base, Base Deer Guard. And Partagas is just oh, this is just chatter. But she's putting it all together.
Yeah, her mind is
Her mind is actively assembling this puzzle.
Yeah, and that line is so good. Disperse the activities and never climb the same fence twice. That just says so much about how she thinks.
Yeah.
Right? She understands that methodology of this resistance to be unpredictable to not repeat patterns, and the Empire just does not get that.
The Empire is so rigid, it just can't wrap its head around that.
Yeah, and that is what makes her such a threat.
Totally.
Because she is able to think that way strategically to see those connections.
Right, and then boom, Aldhani.
Oh, yeah.
This huge heist, a whole sector's payroll.
Just gone.
Just gone.
Bold. Right.
This totally validates everything that Meero's been saying all along.
Oh, yeah.
And then that emergency ISB session, Partagaz calls everybody in.
Can you imagine?
I know the atmosphere would have been electric.
Oh, totally. So different from their normal bureaucratic stuff.
Yeah, I bet they didn't even have snacks.
Right, no snacks. This is serious, and the Empire's completely shaken. And Meero, who has been pushing against the tide, she's now in this totally different landscape.
Yeah, she's got the wind at her back now.
Yeah, and Colonel Yularin's briefing after Aldhani really highlights the Empire's reaction, right?
Yeah.
Those swift countermeasures. The Emperor is directly involved. Now they're expanding their surveillance.
It is all hands on deck.
Huge. But even in the midst of that,
Right.
Meero is still focused on that intelligence gathering.
Totally.
She's not waiting for orders. She's taking the initiative.
Right, and that earlier request that she made, the multi-sector data blend,
Yeah.
going back 2 years
2 years?
to find anomalies and missing items and repair logs.
She's smart.
So smart. She's not just reacting to events.
Right.
She's trying to anticipate them.
Yeah, and of course, Blevin sees this opportunity
Oh, of course he does.
to try to undermine her again.
Classic Blevin.
Right. He accuses her of compromising Imperial security because of how she handled the Ferrex thing. Classic bureaucratic infighting.
Yeah, trying to take down your rival.
But Meero is ready for him.
Oh, she's ready.
She invokes the Imperial Emergency Act.
Oh, yeah.
She's using the Empire's own authority to justify her actions.
So smart.
And that argument she makes that the rebellion doesn't respect sector boundaries.
Right.
Systems change or die.
Yeah.
That is such a powerful statement.
So powerful.
And it's not just about the rebels.
Yeah.
It's about the ISB needing to change how they work
Yeah.
to evolve.
They are so stuck in their ways.
And then she just calls Blevin outright.
Oh, yeah.
Says that his concerns are only about protecting himself.
Totally. She cuts right through his BS.
And Partagaz is watching all of this.
He's taking notes.
He sees how smart she is, how effective she is.
And he makes a decision.
And that decision is...
He reassigns the Morlana sector to Meero.
Boom!
That is a promotion.
She's moving up.
She is on the rise.
It is a clear sign that she is gaining influence and that he values her tenacity and her insight.
Totally. And now she's got even more power. And that feeds directly into her pursuit of Cassian Andor and Axis, who we know as Luthen Rail.
Right, and her interrogation of Cyril Karn,
Yeah.
that is so pivotal.
It really is.
She recognizes his obsession with that Ferrex incident,
Yeah.
and she sees him as this potential source of information.
Right, even though he is unstable.
Yeah, a little bit unstable.
Yeah.
She's like a predator sizing up like a wounded animal,
Yeah.
seeing that potential there.
Totally.
And then her focus shifts to capturing Cassian Andor, and she wants all these resources.
Yeah.
Access to planetary comets, advanced surveillance tools. She's
Right.
using her power.
She's not messing around.
No. And then on Ferrex, we see how ruthless she can be
Yeah.
in those interrogations of Salman Pak and Bix Kayleen.
It is rough.
She is there.
Yeah.
She's taunting Kayleen.
Yeah.
And it is so different from those bureaucratic power struggles that we saw before.
Right.
This is just like raw Imperial power.
Totally.
And it is scary.
That's chilling.
And that specific instruction that she gives
Yeah.
to keep Kayleen alive as a witness against Axis, it really shows her strategic thinking,
Yeah.
even when things are brutal.
Even in the midst of that brutality, she's still thinking strategically.
It is not just about hurting people.
Right.
It's about getting that information,
Totally.
no matter what.
No matter the cost.
And then back on Coruscant, she starts putting those pieces together.
Yeah, with Hert's help.
Yeah, Hert's corroboration is crucial.
Yeah.
She connects Axis and Cassian to the Aldhani heist,
Yeah.
using the information from Kayleen and the soldiers.
She is so good at connecting those dots.
Oh, yeah. She pays attention to the details and she synthesizes all of those data points.
Totally.
That's what makes her so good at her job.
Yeah.
And then using Marva Andor as bait,
Oh, yeah.
so cold,
It is cold.
but strategically brilliant.
But it makes sense.
She understands the bond between Cassian and his mom.
Yeah.
And she knows that is a weakness.
That is how you get to him.
Yeah, and then that crazy encounter with Cyril Karn outside the ISB.
Oh, my God.
He's thanking her for his promotion.
He is delusional.
Delusional, and she just shuts him down.
So brutal.
She sees him as this, like, annoying stalker.
Right.
And then the Krieger lead emerges with the capture of that rebel pilot.
Uh-huh.
And Meero's interrogation of him
Yeah.
shows that she doesn't even need to be there in person.
Right.
She can get that information remotely.
She's got the skills.
Yeah, and then her idea to stage that accident.
Oh, yeah, with the pilot's ship near Kafrene.
So cunning.
It is cunning.
But also messed up.
Morally reprehensible.
But it's a good tactic.
It is effective.
Yeah, to mislead Krieger and maybe draw out some other rebels.
Exactly.
And then the trap on Kafrene is set.
Yeah, and she is so frustrated with military intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
They're too efficient.
Yeah, no prisoners.
No prisoners.
And for her, those prisoners are key.
Yeah, she needs them to get information.
And she keeps bringing up Aldhani.
Yeah.
Wipe the taste of Aldhani from the Emperor's mouth.
It clearly made a huge impact.
Oh, yeah, on the Empire's strategy and on her own ambitions.
Right.
And then the funeral on Ferrix,
The funeral.
she authorizes it, knowing that it's a trap for Cassian. She arrives with death troopers.
Yeah.
She's involved in that whole security briefing.
She's running the show.
Yeah, she is orchestrating everything.
Totally.
And she specifically says to avoid lethal force,
Right.
to replace the snipers with riot control.
She wants him alive.
She wants Cassian Andor alive
Yeah, she needs to interrogate him.
to get more information about the rebels.
Right, to get those puzzle pieces.
But then, of course, things don't go according to plan.
Never do.
Right, that funeral starts early.
Yeah.
Marva's speech.
Oh, man, so powerful.
It is, and it sparks this riot. And Meero is caught outside of that secure perimeter.
Oh.
Yeah, she is exposed.
Vulnerable.
And she's trying to defend herself, reaching for her blaster.
Yeah.
And then Cyril Karn saves her.
Out of nowhere.
Nobody saw that coming.
What a twist.
It is a huge moment for both of them.
It really is.
It shows Karn's just like crazy devotion to her.
Yeah.
And she is just shocked.
Yeah, what is she going to do with that?
I don't know, but it is going to have repercussions.
It's a gotta.
So let's zoom out for a second.
Okay.
Who is Dedra Meero?
Yeah.
She is ruthless in her pursuit of order.
Uh-huh.
She is ambitious, almost like it's insatiable.
Right.
She's incredibly smart.
Oh, smart.
She can see patterns that other people miss.
Yeah.
And she is totally devoted to the Empire.
A true believer.
Yeah, she believes in that order that they impose.
Right.
Even if her methods are brutal.
Even if they're questionable.
Yeah.
I think steely is a really good word for her.
Yeah.
She works in this super patriarchal structure, the ISB.
Right.
And she just pushes through.
Yeah.
With such resolve.
And even how she presents herself.
Yeah.
That severe hairstyle, her controlled expression.
Yeah.
That reflects her discipline.
Totally.
And her focus.
Yeah, she's always on point.
And her uniform.
Yeah.
Always perfect. With those code cylinders and that overcoat.
The overcoat?
Like, she is the image of a dedicated Imperial officer.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about some behind-the-scenes stuff.
Okay.
It's so interesting that Dedra Meero was not a character from, like, the old Star Wars stuff.
Right.
She was created by Tony Gilroy.
Yeah.
For Andor.
Specifically for Andor.
Yeah, and he made this choice to make her relatable at first,
Right.
which is so important for understanding her complexity.
Totally.
He didn't want a one-dimensional villain.
Right. He wanted something more nuanced.
Yeah, he wanted to show how someone can think they're doing the right thing,
Uh-huh.
even when their actions are so awful.
Right. Even when they're doing bad stuff.
And the writers even said that they were rooting for her at first.
I know.
They saw her competence and that struggle that she was facing in that male-dominated world of the Empire.
It's a testament to the writing.
Yeah.
That they could empathize with her.
To that point. But then around that Ferrix arc, they started to question her.
Yeah.
Her methods.
Right.
And that shows their commitment to showing a complex character.
Absolutely. And then Denise Goff being cast.
Oh, yeah.
That was huge.
Huge. Gilroy saw her in people, places, and things.
Yeah.
And he knew that she had the intensity and intelligence to play Meero.
And it's kind of funny that Goff wasn't like a huge Star Wars fan.
I know, right?
Neither was Gilroy.
Yeah, but the writing was so good.
The writing.
And the character was so interesting.
Yeah.
That Goff was immediately drawn to it.
Yeah. She said the scripts were magical.
And she talked to Gilroy about Meero's motivations.
Yeah.
About how she felt like an outsider.
Yeah.
Wanting control.
Right. And Gilroy described her as fascist and badass.
Oh, yeah.
Which is such a good description.
It really is. It captures that duality.
Yeah, that tension.
And then Goff didn't even watch a lot of Star Wars to prepare.
I know.
She only watched Rogue One so that she wouldn't just be imitating other Imperial officers.
Right. She wanted to focus on the character.
Yeah, on those traits that Gilroy had laid out.
And her influences are so interesting.
Tell me.
Gustavo Fring.
Oh, yeah.
From Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah.
That controlled intensity.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Connelly.
Oh, yeah.
In Snowpiercer.
That elegance and authority.
Totally. You can see those influences.
Oh, yeah.
In her performance.
Absolutely. And she really loved playing a powerful woman.
Yeah.
In that male-dominated world of the Empire.
Yeah.
And she wanted to explore those dangers of wanting power so much.
Right. And she saw Meero as someone who truly believed in the Empire.
Yeah.
And thought her colleagues were incompetent.
Which makes her even scarier.
Oh, yeah.
Like that conviction.
And she aimed to make Meero terrifying.
Yeah.
Because of that desire for control.
Right?
And she didn't want the character to be redeemed.
Wow.
Which is really interesting.
It is like she understood that there was something deep down.
That need for validation.
That was driving her.
Right. And it makes you think about where she might go in season 2.
Totally. And then even little things like Goff insisted that they tailor Meero's uniform.
I know, I love that.
To get that specific fit.
Yeah.
She really wanted to embody the character.
Totally. And Gilroy and Toby Haynes.
Yeah.
They wanted the audience to understand Meero's point of view.
Yeah.
To see why she thinks she's doing the right thing.
Right. Even if I disagree with her.
Yeah. That is what makes her such a good antagonist.
Yeah. That complexity.
Totally. And the Ferrex set was apparently incredible.
Oh, yeah. In Little Marlow, they filmed those scenes first.
Wow.
So they were really immersed in that world.
Yeah. And Goff's first day on set was Marva's funeral.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine?
Intense.
So intense.
And then she had trouble saying multi-sector data blend.
I love that.
Right?
She had to use her stage training.
It's funny.
It's a nice humanizing detail.
Yeah, and she and Kyle Soller got along really well.
They did.
They had that shared intensity.
Which totally came across on screen.
Yeah.
And then that scene where Meero rejects Karn.
Oh, yeah.
Goff played it with such fury.
Yeah, like she was so angry to be touched.
Yeah.
And the big scalene torture scene,
yeah.
She was excited for that.
I know.
And that twitchy face.
That twitchy face.
That just came out naturally.
Wow.
And they told her to keep her hands behind her back.
Oh, yeah.
During that scene.
That adds to it.
Oh, yeah, that control.
Totally. And she wasn't sure about Meero being rescued by Karn.
Yeah.
But she made sure that Meero reached for a weapon.
Right,
like,
right.
She wasn't totally helpless.
Yeah, and she's hopeful that in season 2,
yeah.
we'll see Meero out of uniform.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, see a different side of her.
Totally.
And then that anecdote from the Dagoga Dispatch podcast
yeah.
about the possibility of a romance.
A romance between Meero and Karn.
Goff was like, no way.
Yeah, she was not having it.
And Soller said that Karn was delusional.
Which is perfect.
It is so them.
Yeah.
Like, he is obsessed with her.
Totally.
And she just has this professional disdain.
So good.
So, we have reached the end of our deep dive into Dedra Meero.
We have.
And we've learned that she is ruthlessly ambitious.
Yeah.
Exceptionally intelligent.
Incredibly smart.
And a true believer in the Empire.
Yeah, she buys into it completely.
And Denise Geff's performance?
Oh, yeah.
It has made Meero more than just a villain.
Right, she's complex.
Yeah, a central figure in the story of Andor.
Absolutely, and to see her journey from those early challenges to her pursuit of the rebellion.
Right.
Her rise through the ISB.
And then that rescue by Cyril Karn.
Oh, yeah.
What does it all mean for season 2?
So many questions.
Huge questions.
Yeah, and so that leaves us with something for you guys to think about.
Yeah.
What does Meero's pursuit of order and control, even through these brutal methods, tell us about power itself?
Yeah.
Right, and after that chaos on Ferrex and her connection to Karn, how is she going to see the galaxy now?
Right.
How's her place in the Empire going to change?
I don't know, but I can't wait to find out.
Me neither.
It really makes you think about good and evil in Star Wars.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me.
This has been great.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens in season 2.
Let's do this again after.
Deal.
Deal.